Developing emotional intelligence. 1. Definition and explanation of emotional intelligence, EQ. Emotional intelligence, often abbreviated as EQ, emotional quotient, refers to the capacity to recognize, understand, and manage emotions, both one's own and those of others. Unlike the intelligence quotient, IQ, which measures cognitive abilities like logic and reasoning, EQ focuses on the emotional and social aspects of human behavior. People with high emotional intelligence are typically more self-aware, better at handling interpersonal relationships, and more capable of navigating the emotional dynamics of everyday life. At its core, emotional intelligence involves 5 key components: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Self-awareness is the ability to recognize one's emotions and understand their impact. Self-regulation is about controlling impulses, thinking before acting, and managing emotional reactions. Motivation in EQ is not just about drive to achieve goals, but also staying optimistic and persistent despite challenges. Empathy is the ability to sense how others feel and to respond with care. Finally, social skills involve managing relationships, resolving conflicts, and inspiring others. For example, imagine someone receives negative feedback at work. A person with low EQ might react defensively or angrily, perhaps even lashing out. In contrast, a person with high EQ would take a moment to process their feelings, consider the feedback objectively, and respond calmly, perhaps even asking clarifying questions to understand how they can improve. EQ is especially important in environments where communication and teamwork are essential. In a school setting, for instance, students with high EQ are more likely to resolve peer conflicts peacefully and understand the emotions of classmates. In leadership, a manager with strong emotional intelligence can boost team morale, reduce stress, and foster a culture of open communication. A leader who recognizes when an employee is overwhelmed can offer support or redistribute tasks, which builds trust and loyalty within the team. One of the reasons EQ is gaining attention in education, psychology, and business is because it influences many areas of life, often more than IQ does. While a high IQ might help someone solve complex problems or analyze data, it's EQ that enables them to work effectively with others, adapt to change, and remain composed under pressure. Furthermore, emotional intelligence is tied closely to mental health. People with better emotional regulation tend to have lower rates of anxiety and depression. They're also better equipped to manage stressful situations because they can recognize their emotional triggers and use strategies, like deep breathing, reframing, or seeking support, to stay grounded. In conclusion, emotional intelligence is a multifaceted concept that affects how we perceive and navigate the world. It's not about suppressing emotions, but rather about understanding them and using them wisely. Whether in personal relationships, academic settings, or the workplace, EQ is a key factor in achieving success and satisfaction. It allows people to handle complexity, understand themselves and others more deeply, and interact in more meaningful, productive ways. 2. The importance of EQ for personal development. Emotional intelligence, EQ, plays a vital role in personal development because it affects almost every area of life, from how we think and feel, to how we build relationships and make decisions. While academic knowledge or technical skills may help someone land a job or pass an exam, it is EQ that determines how well they can manage their emotions, work with others, and navigate life's many challenges. Developing EQ is not just about becoming more emotional or sensitive, it's about becoming more balanced, aware, and resilient. One of the most significant ways EQ contributes to personal growth is through enhanced self-awareness. Self-awareness helps individuals understand their strengths and weaknesses, what triggers their emotions, and how those emotions influence their actions. When people are more self-aware, they can make better choices in both their personal and professional lives. For instance, someone who knows they get anxious before public speaking can prepare specific strategies, like breathing exercises or visualization techniques, to manage that anxiety. Over time, they not only become better speakers but also build self-confidence. Another key contribution of EQ to personal development is improved stress management. Life is full of unpredictable events, deadlines, conflicts, losses, and failures. People with strong emotional intelligence are better at regulating their emotional responses to such stressors. They are less likely to panic, shut down, or lash out. Instead, they can pause, assess the situation rationally, and take constructive steps forward. For example, a college student who fails an important test may feel disappointed but, with good EQ, can recognize that emotion, accept it, and make a plan to study more effectively for the next exam instead of giving up. EQ also enhances communication and social interaction, which are essential parts of personal development. People with high emotional intelligence are better listeners and more empathetic. They are able to express themselves clearly and respond to others with understanding and compassion. This leads to more meaningful conversations, reduced misunderstandings, and stronger personal relationships. For instance, in a disagreement between friends, someone with high EQ might say, "I understand you were upset. Let's talk about what happened," instead of becoming defensive or blaming the other person. This approach can prevent arguments from escalating and help relationships grow stronger. Emotional resilience, the ability to recover from setbacks, is another aspect of personal development that EQ supports. Life is full of ups and downs, and emotional intelligence helps individuals adapt to change, cope with disappointment, and remain hopeful. When someone is emotionally intelligent, they don't ignore their pain, but they also don't let it define them. They can reflect on difficult experiences, learn from them, and move forward with a positive mindset. This resilience is crucial for long-term success and personal growth. Moreover, EQ promotes a more positive self-image and motivation. People with high EQ are usually more in tune with their values and inner goals. They don't rely solely on external validation to feel good about themselves. This inner clarity helps them stay motivated, especially during hard times. For instance, an artist who faces repeated rejections may still continue creating art, not because others approve, but because they understand their own passion and purpose. In conclusion, emotional intelligence is a powerful driver of personal development. It strengthens self-awareness, helps manage stress, improves communication, builds resilience, and fosters a deeper understanding of oneself and others. Developing EQ allows individuals to grow into more balanced, compassionate, and capable human beings. As people become more emotionally intelligent, they are better equipped to handle life's challenges, maintain healthier relationships, and live with greater purpose and fulfillment. Emotional awareness, the ability to recognize and understand one's own emotions and the emotions of others, is a central component of emotional intelligence. Developing emotional awareness can lead to profound benefits in everyday life, from improving decision-making to enhancing relationships and building a stronger sense of empathy. When individuals become more emotionally aware, they begin to see emotions not as distractions but as valuable sources of information. This awareness becomes a powerful tool for personal growth and meaningful interactions. One of the most important benefits of emotional awareness is better decision-making. Emotions often influence how we make choices, whether we realize it or not. When people are unaware of their emotions, they may act impulsively or allow fear, anger, or anxiety to cloud their judgment. On the other hand, emotionally aware individuals can pause, identify what they are feeling, and consider how those feelings might be affecting their choices. For example, someone might feel tempted to quit a job after a single argument with a coworker, but if they are emotionally aware, they might realize that the desire to quit comes from temporary frustration rather than a genuine desire for change. With that awareness, they can choose to address the conflict calmly instead of making a rash decision. Another major benefit is conflict resolution. Emotional awareness allows people to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting emotionally during disagreements. By recognizing both their own emotions and those of others, emotionally aware individuals are better equipped to de-escalate tense situations and find constructive solutions. For instance, during a family argument, an emotionally aware person might notice that their sibling is feeling hurt rather than angry. Recognizing that emotion can shift the conversation from blame to understanding, opening the door for empathy and reconciliation. In addition, emotional awareness strengthens empathy, the ability to put oneself in someone else's shoes. Empathy is critical in building trust and deeper relationships. When you're emotionally aware, you're more attuned to subtle emotional cues like tone of voice, body language, or even silence. You can sense when someone is anxious, sad, or uncomfortable, and respond in a way that shows support. For example, a teacher who notices a usually cheerful student being unusually quiet can gently ask if everything is okay. That simple act of emotional attentiveness can make a big difference in the student's sense of being seen and valued. Emotional awareness also leads to greater self-regulation. When individuals understand what they are feeling and why, they can choose how to respond instead of letting their emotions control them. This is especially important in high-pressure situations. A manager who feels overwhelmed before a big presentation might take a few moments to identify that they're feeling nervous due to fear of failure. Acknowledging that emotion helps them take steps to prepare mentally and emotionally, perhaps through deep breathing or positive self-talk, so they can perform more confidently and effectively. Beyond personal benefits, emotional awareness enhances overall well-being and mental health. People who are in tune with their emotions are less likely to suppress them or let them build up into anxiety or depression. Instead, they can process emotions in a healthy way, by talking them through, journaling, exercising, or seeking support when needed. This self-care reduces emotional overload and helps maintain balance in life. Finally, emotional awareness fosters stronger, more authentic connections with others. When individuals are open about what they're feeling and willing to listen to others without judgment, relationships become more honest and meaningful. Instead of hiding behind surface-level conversations, emotionally aware people are comfortable discussing vulnerability, setting boundaries, and showing appreciation. These qualities help build lasting friendships, healthy romantic partnerships, and supportive work environments. In summary, emotional awareness is more than just recognizing feelings. It's about understanding, managing, and using those feelings to improve your life and the lives of those around you. It leads to better decisions, calmer responses to conflict, deeper empathy, improved well-being, and stronger connections. Cultivating emotional awareness is a lifelong journey, but the rewards are well worth the effort. 4. EQ as a trainable skill, how it can be developed. Unlike IQ, which tends to remain relatively stable throughout life, emotional intelligence, EQ, is not fixed. It is a skill that can be developed and strengthened with intention, practice, and reflection. While some people may have a natural inclination toward emotional sensitivity or empathy, anyone can improve their EQ over time by focusing on key areas like self-awareness, emotional regulation, empathy, and interpersonal communication. The first step in developing emotional intelligence is cultivating self-awareness. This means becoming conscious of your emotions in real time and understanding their source. A simple but effective method is to journal regularly. By writing down your feelings, reactions, and triggers at the end of each day, you can begin to recognize emotional patterns. For example, you might notice that you often feel irritated during meetings in the afternoon, which could be a sign of mental fatigue. Recognizing this allows you to plan better, maybe by taking a break beforehand or rescheduling important discussions. Another critical area is self-regulation, or managing your emotional responses. Developing this skill involves pausing before reacting, especially in emotionally charged situations. A helpful tool is mindfulness meditation, which trains your mind to observe emotions without immediately acting on them. For instance, if someone criticizes your work, your initial reaction might be anger or defensiveness. With improved self-regulation, you can take a breath, acknowledge the emotion internally, and respond calmly by asking for clarification or feedback. Empathy is also a central element of EQ, and it can be actively practiced. One way to strengthen empathy is through active listening. This means truly focusing on what someone is saying, without interrupting, judging, or preparing your response while they talk. A practical exercise is to summarize what the other person said before replying. For example, in a conversation with a friend who seems upset, you might say, "It sounds like you're feeling frustrated because your efforts weren't recognized." This not only shows empathy but also gives the other person a chance to feel heard and understood. Developing EQ also involves enhancing your social skills. Building strong relationships takes emotional effort and practice. You can improve this by being more aware of nonverbal communication, such as facial expressions, posture, and tone of voice. Understanding these cues can help you read the room and adjust your communication accordingly. For example, if you're in a group discussion and someone looks disengaged or uncomfortable, you can check in with them or ask a question that brings them into the conversation. Feedback is another powerful tool for growth. Asking trusted friends, colleagues, or mentors for feedback about how you handle emotions or relate to others can reveal blind spots. For example, a colleague might point out that you tend to dominate discussions during meetings. Knowing this, you can become more conscious of giving others space to speak and showing appreciation for their contributions. It's also important to practice emotional intelligence in real-life situations, not just in theory. That could mean volunteering for leadership roles, having tough conversations you've been avoiding, or consciously resolving a conflict using EQ strategies. Every interaction is a chance to improve. For those who want a more structured path, there are many courses, books, and coaching programs dedicated to emotional intelligence. Books like Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman or apps that offer emotional regulation exercises and mindfulness training can provide guidance and tools for consistent development. In conclusion, emotional intelligence is not an inborn trait reserved for a lucky few, it's a practical, trainable skill that improves with conscious effort. By practicing self-awareness, regulating emotions, developing empathy, improving communication, and learning from feedback, anyone can build and strengthen their EQ. The more emotionally intelligent you become, the more confident, connected, and capable you'll feel in both personal and professional aspects of life.